Good, well, good day. We're laughing. We're having a lot of fun here. And welcome. It's Small Biz David, and welcome to the second day of Global Entrepreneurship Week. And if you follow me, and obviously if you're watching today, you either follow me or you follow our guest today. But it's a very, very important week for me. And I got involved in this program. I think it was about 6 years ago, and it was started by the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City, and they are the entrepreneurship foundation. And it's a very special time when entrepreneurs around the world, and this year there are 150 countries involved in this program. There will be more than 40,000 events during the week that will touch the lives of more than 10 million folks. And I got started when it was just one country and one thing happening, and I've watched it grow, and it's been a wonderful experience. And as you know, our community is dreaming with entrepreneurs and Google+. And so we do a lot of dreaming and entrepreneurs, and we share ideas, and we work with one another, we collaborate with one another, and that's really what the spirit of Global Entrepreneurship Week is, where entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs or not so successful entrepreneurs, share their experiences with other entrepreneurs, and more importantly, with what I call the students of entrepreneurship, because they are our future. And if you heard yesterday when I read the Entrepreneur's Pledge, we are obligated. Rayne, we are obligated as entrepreneurs to share our experiences with other folks and help them and work with them in the true spirit of entrepreneurship. So at this time, I'm honored to welcome to a discussion today about entrepreneurship, unscripted. We don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Rayne Dowell and Rayne, you and I actually we just met less than 2 months ago. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
I mean, it hasn't been all that long. And Rayne and Rayne hails from Alberta, Canada. And why don't you share a little bit, Rayne? And I posted your Google Plus profile page into the event stream so people can go there. But why don't you? I guess the question I need to ask first: why are you an entrepreneur?
Okay, awesome. First of all, David, I want to give you a huge kudos for the program you started 4 years ago and how it's blossomed and grown and the positive impact you've had. A huge round of applause.
Well,
I think that's just fantastic. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. With regard to entrepreneurship, I actually did not know I was an entrepreneur. I really hadn't even heard the word much or anything to do with it, which has been very interesting because it's been over a period of time now. Once I learned really what entrepreneurship is, and traits an entrepreneur has, then I started looking back at my work history and jobs I've done and things I've done and experienced, and that I think from day one I was an entrepreneur, but I just didn't know it.
What as an adult, what are some of the things that you did professionally in your job as an adult? What did that include?
Sure. Well, one of the traits I find entrepreneurs have is they're solution finders. They're always looking for solutions and better ways to do things to save time, save resources, save improve efficiencies, that type of thing. It's just, I think it's just a mindset. You can't really help thinking like that. It's just how you think. And I've sort of done it throughout my career in various different jobs I've had. The one in particular, and depending on the company I worked for, they either seemed to recognize that and given me the reins to kind of go, or they haven't. Things
Well,
didn't stay very long.
you take me back in my time, and I want to share that experience because what you just said was extremely important in the concept of entrepreneurship, in the spirit of entrepreneurship. I've been a small business owner for over 40 years, and so for most of my life, I've been doing my own thing. There was a period of time where I got together with a large corporation. They were a multinational corporation, as a matter of fact. When I started with them, they were a $300 million company. When I left my association with them 9 years later, they were a multi-billion-dollar company. So it was a wonderful experience. And they were started by a very conservative telephone company right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And they were started by Procter & Gamble employees. Procter & Gamble was headquartered here in Cincinnati, and so it was a very conservative kind of environment. And they took a flyer on me. But I actually met with the CEO of the company before I got involved, and they let me do my own thing, and that's why I'm telling you this story. I had been in business and did all kinds of things, and they said, you know what, we're going to let this guy go. We're going to let him do his thing. I was the only one, well, first of all, I was the first one in the company that they allowed to operate out of their home. Actually, not 100% true. There was another person who they allowed to operate out of their home, and today she runs the company, literally runs the company. It's an amazing story. Wow. But I never did I didn't do the traditional PowerPoint presentations that we were supposed to do. I didn't do a traditional RFP proposal that we were supposed to do, that we were trained to do. But I got the business, and that's all they were concerned with. As long as I generated the business that they were looking for from me, then we were fine. So you bring up a great point, and to that point also, there's another dynamic, and I don't know if you see this. I don't know what size companies. I know you work with a lot of small businesses, but there's another dynamic going on in the world, and that's intrapreneur, where large corporations are allowing their business units to operate, and the head of that business unit to operate as an entrepreneur, as if they were running their own business. So you've seen that, you've done that. How long ago was it that you made the decision to do what you're doing today?
It actually wasn't that long ago. It was about a year ago. I think I had been moving away from that for quite a while because for me, I found it difficult to find companies, whether it be mid or large-sized companies, that kind of were open to new ideas and open to trying new things and doing things that were new. And it just so happens wherever you happen to be at that point, whatever shows up for you. So that's just part of the journey, and that led me to explore other things, different things that perhaps I might be interested in. So I've got a stronger computer background, and I like advertising. But the main thing is I love people. I love people, and I love hearing their different stories. I love how everybody has such amazing information to provide, just as you do, David, on your shows with all your experience and the different stories. There's so many people that have specialties, and even more so now as our populations grow, that it just seems to me that we need some sort of way to be able to impart that information and to organically grow and connect with that information. So just seeing how that has all been working, I've just sort of been on this journey learning all the different things that are important because there are so many fantastic things that happen offline, and yet, you know, a small business or whatever size of business, these things are happening offline, but they're not being translated online. Or in the case of a large company, what's being translated online doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't seem authentic. So yeah, I'd like to see some kind of you know, shift in that way, kind of change things up a
Well,
little, put the human back into
we absolutely do business differently today than I did a long time ago. Maybe that's a good thing. Some of the things are missing. Some of the things are really missing. We communicate differently, and business is all about communication. It's about, you know, what is our business about? What is it that we're trying to do? What is our passion? And how do we communicate that to folks that we want to do business with us? But before we go on to another question, you've evoked a comment from Vivek, who says that, rightly said, Rayne, about 5 minutes in, entrepreneurs look for solutions. And then he has a little experience that he shares. People who look for jobs and want to retain their jobs often create more problems than solve them. Existence of problems means their jobs are secure. That's a great point. Job security within a large company. Hey, we won't go to outside thinking, because if we do, maybe they're going to be right, and maybe I'm going to lose my job over it all. I've seen. Oh boy, I have seen that. I've seen that at play so many times. Well, why don't you explain what exactly is your passion? I mean, we can read your profile, and your profile says, and the thing that got me most interested about you as I read your profile was small business strategist. And as you know, well, with business, it starts with a strategy. I mean, you have a dream and you have a passion, something you would like to accomplish, but you have to have a strategy to get there. You have to have a roadmap that takes you. It might not be correct. It might not be the right way to do it, but you don't know it until you do it. Why don't you share some thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, in the past years, I've sort of kind of gone out on my own, and I've been working with clients and helping them, you know, get more of an online presence. If they have an online presence, trying to brand it so that it's a consistent look and feel across their platform. So if it's their website and the social media platforms, that type of. And training them somewhat on social media and what it's about. But I've learned through this process that the name that I chose is misleading, because it leads people to believe that I manage social media for companies or individuals, which is not what I do. Well,
I thought you were talking about your name, Rayne Dowell. You took on the wrong name.
No.
That was the right name.
That was the right name. So I thought about it a lot more, and that's actually helped me determine what I really love doing, and what you know puts a sparkle in my eye, and I can't get too much into that because I'm going to be launching the new company in the next.
Are you making an announcement now?
I'm
Is this
not
the?
making.
Oh,
I'm
you had me
not.
on the
You
you had
tried to
me on
get me to
the edge of
do
my
this last time.
had me on the edge of my chair. I thought
You,
you were.
I know. I promised you, you'll be the first one to know, and you will be, David.
I'm just kidding. That well, and that you know what, Rayne, that's the exciting thing about being in business, and particularly there's a dynamic at play right now, and it's because of online. It's because of how we connect with one another that I didn't see years ago, and that's. Uh, I don't know if your clients are offline clients that you are bringing online. I don't know if that's the case. But in today's world, the way that things operate, we can have clients all over the world. We certainly have friendships and business interactions, which brings me to another point that I'd like to, and it was one of the themes that I wanted to really get across during this Global Entrepreneurship Week. I can talk about small business wherever I am. There's no question about that. What I can address is how individual countries, Alberta, Canada, wherever one might be, how they have different cultures, and it's those culture that really challenges, probably more so in the offline world than in the online world. Why don't you share your thoughts on that? Because to me, that's one of the intriguing things that I'm finding about operating in the Google Plus world.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely it's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity to learn about other cultures, and you know the certain words they use and gestures and how they communicate. And I definitely have noticed, being from Canada, there's certain words or idiosyncrasies that are common to Canadians, yet there can be differences between somebody who's from Nova Scotia to somebody who's from Alberta, even in terms of accent. So I find it, sometimes it can be a challenge because, you know, I find it less so of a challenge though when you're in an actual hangout and you can talk with the person and, see if they're understanding what you're saying, and you can, understand a little bit better than say something that's written down. Um, there's a lot of different ways something that's written can be taken. It really all depends on the person who's reading it, what their mood is. It can be all kinds of different things. So I find it a lot better in terms of communication to do it through online and through video. I think it's much easier to communicate that way.
Well,
But I love the written word. I love the written word.
now you're one of my favorite persons when you talk about video, because that's really one of the major changes that I have seen, and I've totally embraced it, because I do a lot of writing, but I don't necessarily like to. Well, not necessarily. I don't like to write unless it's a bottom line business proposal. I write a great cover letter because it's very bottom line and get to the point. But I don't do very much. I don't do any blogging, except the blogging that I do it in the form of a video. So instead of trying to write about what it is I want to say, I just get into Google Hangouts and get Hangouts on air and tell the folks and share it that way. And more and more of the world is moving in that direction. Every day I read articles about how marketing has to embrace video. And you have to tell the story. It's not about the me, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do this. It's the story that drives the action and drives the result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. And I think that really hit home for me. I've just been on Google Plus for about a year and a half or something now, and all kinds of experiments. I've been checking all kinds of things out, the takeout option and all kinds of things. It's there's a lot to learn on Google Plus. It's fantastic. Um, But yeah, it's definitely there's a layer to it when it's with video, and one of the first ones I saw was Tim Longwell, who's in the community, and I don't know how I happened across his hangout, but he was talking about a painting, and he had painted this painting, and yeah, and it wasn't that painting, it was a different one. It was a
See,
horse that was.
I've got a Tim Longwell original in my office.
You're very lucky. You're very lucky. And he used it to describe the story behind the painting and why he painted this picture. And it was absolutely fascinating, the story behind the picture, because he came from such a fantastic place, a beautiful place in his heart when he had this idea to paint this painting, and it came out in the painting. It was magic. It was beautiful, and the way he described it and everything that happened around it. And that's when it really hit me, because it wasn't scripted. He hadn't, he hadn't, that this he was just explaining where this idea for this painting came from and why he chose the certain images in the painting, and it was absolutely fascinating. I've just found it absolutely fascinating, and to me it made the painting even more worthwhile and valuable, knowing what was behind it.
Uh,
Yeah.
a little bit unrelated. You've got my attention on something. I know Tim. I've actually done a one-on-one hangout with him, and I would like to invite him to share that painting story this week. Do you remember what the painting was?
Yes, if you hope he still has it. It's a horse, and there's stars in the background, and it's just an absolutely beautiful story.
And you say it came
It looks like
the story came spontaneously, or it was the theme of it was
yeah,
the
he was just yeah, I can't remember who he was on the hangout with him, David, but Tim was talking about this painting, and he had been thinking of the parents, because it was in honor of a child who had passed, and that's why he had painted this painting, and it was just absolutely beautiful. The story was just the way he told it. It was absolutely amazing. It was really, really well done, and that's what, to me, what was so made such an impact was that he was just talking, and he was just explaining the story behind it and why he chose the things he did to represent certain things, and that's what was so fascinating about it. Yeah.
okay. Are most of your clients today online clients, or are they offline that you're bringing online? And B, second part of the question is, are they necessarily Canadian companies in Alberta or wherever they might be?
No, they can be anywhere, and they're a mixture of both. And I'm not necessarily, I'm not necessarily targeting small businesses. It's more the individual, because whether you work for a company or not, or yourself, or whatever it is, I think it's just part of the thing now that you have your own area of specialty, and you either blog about it or vlog about it or whatever it is, and whether you work for yourself or someone else, that's just an added benefit, and we've got hundreds of thousands of people doing that right now, blogging about what their passions are, whether it be food or exercising or whatever it is. It's just a plus. It's an added plus that can be added on to their skills and what they know and what they can do moving forward, whether they stay as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, or whether they're with a company, they'll be able to continue those skills and see them moving forward with those skills.
And
So it's
isn't
almost,
that
it's almost like an online resume, really.
Isn't that part of the engagement process that people want to do business that they know, like, and trust? I guess those are the words. And part of the liking process is when somebody looks at the broad picture, and they're not just this, but they're this also, and they bring that kind of passion to the table, or that kind of creativity to the table. I think that's one thing that sets folks apart today is their creative thinking and their creative marketing, their creative approach. Those are the things that companies are looking for as they look for the Rayne Dowells of the world. How do you get clients today? Why don't you share that? Because that's really the pain. I mean, if somebody has a business idea, and it might be the greatest idea in the world, but if they can't market that, if they can't communicate that idea, it really means nothing. It doesn't have any value. We have to bring value to folks' lives with the ideas and concepts that we take to them. So, how do you approach that process with the folks that you work with, your clients?
For me, I find a really good mixture is have to have a good online presence, but you also need to, there's the offline world as well, and it's also very good to get out and meet people and new people and find out what other people are doing, because it's it's offline, but it's just as important. It's just as important, and whether or not they're doing anything online or not, if they are, that's fantastic. Then you can connect with them online. A lot of the people, I mean, G Plus is basically a brand new world. It's just a brand new world, and it's very open, and so yeah, a lot people have come to me that way as well. So I think it's just organic, though. I mean, if you're there to help or provide information where you can, or do different things that you can, then that also, goodwill is serves you well, I think. Yeah. Oh, and David?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 11:30, and you wanted me to remind you about something at the end of the show. I can't believe I remembered to remind you.
Well, actually, we are doing it. We're talking. We're having a discussion, but I was going to use this experience today to challenge you and to invite you to become an important part of a project that I'm working on. Let's have a drum roll. Can you do a drum roll for this?
I can. Let me find it.
I knew you were going to find it. As you know, because you've seen, well, you've heard me talk about it. I don't know if you've seen. Oh, sure, yeah. I'm sure you've seen postings that I've done about it. One of the objectives of the SmallBizDavid Foundation in 2015 is we're going to be publishing what I'm calling digital video books. It's a concept that I'm just coming up with. I just made up those words. I mean, they're all words that we know what they mean. But I wrote a traditional book, published it myself, got it printed myself in 2007. I was a part of a collaborative book effort 3 years ago, and the book was a bestseller. And I had the opportunity to actually meet, through that process, my main mentor of all times, Brian Tracy. So I've had those experiences, and they were wonderful experiences. And I wanted to do something different, and so I'm doing a digital video book, and I'm taking the concept of the book that I wrote 7 years ago, and I'm completing it because I created it as a workbook, and I literally asked 749 questions. How do you answer these 749 questions about your small business? And the only criticism I got, and it was designed as a workbook, so I had white space literally between all 749 questions, so the small business owner could say, wow, I never thought about that question. I need to about my business. Take a note saying I need to talk to her. I need to call Rayne and get her opinion on this, or my accountant or my attorney, whatever the subject might be. The criticism that I got with the book was I didn't give the answers, and that was never my intention to give the answers, but it was a good criticism. And I said, you know what? If I gave first of all, if I had given the answers to all 749 questions, it would have taken me another year to do the book, literally, because that's what it would have taken. So I said, you know what? This time I'm going to answer at least 100 of the most important questions of the book, and I'm going to update it, because 7 years ago we weren't talking about Google 7 years. We were doing Google searches, but that was the only thing that we were doing. Now you and I and I don't know, 350 million other people have found that Google is an important, maybe the most important part of what it is that we do. Okay, so all this, and I've got 750 YouTubes out there. I've got almost 800 YouTubes out there right now. We're going to start answering some questions in the form of videos. So I'm taking the 4 chapters, and I've invited actually 5 people to do the 4 chapter headings. Then the next step is going to take, within those chapters, I want to have groups of folks, 3 or 4 folks, and they will, as a group, come up and we'll brainstorm. We'll do some things, related to that chapter heading. Would you do us the honor of being on the business strategy team, one of the business strategy teams? And so it would be you just getting to, there'll be 3 other people, and I'll tell you offline I'll tell you outside of the HOA who those 3 other people would be. And you probably know some of them or all of them. And we would have a group discussion. There'll be questions, and I'll point a question to you, and then you'll answer it, and then the other folks will add their input to it. We'll just have it'll be a real powerful session. Would you take on the challenge of being part of that effort?
It sounds really, really exciting, David. Thank you so much for thinking of me and providing the opportunity. It sounds amazing.
It's good. It'll be great. It's going to be a great project, and the feedback that I'm getting on it from the folks that I'm talking to about it is it's been great, obviously very gratifying and everything else, but it's going to be a good opportunity for those folks who participate to position themselves as the experts in the various categories that we're talking about. So it's going to be a great project, and I'll share with you in the green room what that's all about. And it will entail, initially it's only going to entail one HOA sometime either in December or January, as we can coordinate it and get it done. I know you're very busy, and can I pull it out of you what it is that you? Nah. Like, well, I've had a couple situations. It's fun. It's fun. I've had a couple situations where people made the first announcement of something in an HOA that I was doing, and that's always a fun thing.
Yeah, for sure, and I promised you so.
I'm indeed honored to have you as a part of it, and it is on the business strategy team, and we look forward to it. So
I appreciate it.
I want to thank you for taking time during this Global Entrepreneurship Week. We are going global as we talk to folks in Canada. I was actually supposed to do a hangout today, and the time zone thing got in the way. But I was earlier today. It was at 3 o'clock this morning my time. I was to have an HOA with somebody in Australia, and it was 7 o'clock in the evening in Australia. There's 16 hours difference, and either he or I or both of us got confused on the time thing, and it didn't happen. But that's also one of the challenges of what we do. I mean, Google is worldwide. It's 24/7. There's always somebody online inside of Google doing something.
Speaking of which, I am being called into Elaine Nieberding's Holy Shift show.
Right now? Well, you better get going, man.
Yeah, I do the comment tracking there.
Well, that's an important job. You better get going. Well, thank you for your time today. And go do your thing, and you and I will talk later. But it's been fun, and thank you for participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. You're awesome to hang out with.
We try to have fun. And to all the folks who are either viewing live or viewing the recorded version, thank you for taking your time. We hope that you were able to pull something out of today's HOA that will bring value to you, get you thinking about something in your business, or sharing an experience with somebody else who is in business, or sharing the experience with somebody who is not in business yet but thinking about going into business, because that's what it's all about. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. My name is SmallBizDavid, and I will see you the next time, which may very well be the best time.